here's Brody Brazil.
Hey, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to this series. It's all about 2023 Oakland A's player profiles. And let's get to the East Bay native, Paul Blackburn, who was an all-star in 2022. There he is, wearing that jersey down in Los Angeles. Ooh, by the way, could that be what Oakland's City Connect jersey looks like? I'm digging the gray and the gold. Ooh, I really enjoyed those. I think I made a separate video on that some other time. Anyway, let's get back to Paul Blackburn. And let's begin with the basics on Oakland's starter. On opening day, he'll be 29 years old. He comes in with 3 years, 18 days of big league service time, but that's actually been stretched out across 6 consecutive major league seasons. He's been with the A's actually a long time now. It's only that last year was his first full-fledged opportunity. Unfortunately, it ended with an injury on the middle finger of his throwing hand, which we'll document in just a second. But looking back at his career thus far, first 5 big league seasons, up, down, maybe had never made more than 2, 3, 4 starts in a row, never had that sustained opportunity. But in those first 5 years, a 6-11 record, a 5.74 ERA in 30 starts across 5 years. Very segmented, as I'm suggesting. But last year, a 7-6 record, a 4.28 ERA, 21 starts under his belt, and yes, he was Oakland's representative. He was a Major League Baseball All-Star. So let's dive deeper into his 2022. It was mid-August that he came out with the season-ending middle finger injury. Apparently he had just like a torn tendon, required a splint on there. And they said at the time that it had been bugging him for a while. He had been pitching through some pain, pitching through this injury. And that kind of spells out maybe why he had early success, and then all of a sudden, midsummer, why it kind of went away. Paul Blackburn got off to a ridiculous start, 6-2, 2.26 ERA across his first 13 starts. Probably deserved a couple more wins along the way, right? 8 total decisions there out of 13 starts. What if he was 7 or 8, 8-2, hypothetically? I think that was possible if he would have gotten some more run support that the A's didn't give him. And he does end last year with career-high stats in pretty much every category across the board, but that's obvious. He played well, got the opportunity. Yeah, this was the first full go-around, and he was rewarded for it about halfway through. It was just the second half where things kind of faded away. But again, don't know how much of this played into it. I don't want to speak for Paul Blackburn. You can certainly put 2 and 2 together and understand the injury is where his struggles also started statistically. But I want to dive into some deeper numbers here for Paulie B in 2022. A 134 opponent's average with 2 strikes. Love to see it, right? He had the put-away pitch. He had the curveball working last year, the revamped curveball, which we'll discuss. A 242 opponent's average with runners in scoring position. So maybe that's one that you'd like to be able to cut down, limit the damage on. It's not terrible by any means, but that was certainly something that stood out. There's also this, which is crazy. You look at his ERA by innings. First versus the second through fourth versus the 5th inning. So basically the first time through the order, well, not even the top of the order, then the first 2 times through the order, and then after that. A 6.43 ERA in first innings. My goodness. And it sounds weird. It's not uncommon. It's something the great Dave Stewart used to go through. Those first inning jitters, to get it out of your system, to get established in the start, whatever it is. And I don't know if Paul has any rhyme or reason for this, but there was it last year that he struggled. 6.43 ERA in the first frames. After that, though, second through 4th innings, a 2.86 ERA. That's where he settled in. That's where Paul Blackburn shined. And then a 9.92 ERA in 5th innings. Again, I know it's really weird to key in on certain innings where he struggled, but I mean, look at that. It definitely does stand out. I can't say I got an answer for it either, but it's definitely something I'm sure he'd like to, focus on the good parts and wipe away the bad parts here. Also this, though, no runs after the 5th innings, and he only had 11 innings pitched after 5th innings. So getting deeper into games would be great for him, but he was good at the very end of those really good starts. Let's dive into one more split here. 6-1 on the road and a 1-5 record at home. And yeah, I know the A's struggled as a team all season long at the Coliseum versus the road. They were actually an okay road team last year. They were just really that bad at the Coliseum for whatever reason. But that was also reflected in Paul's record. And I mentioned before that he revamped the curveball. There was a lot of talk about him early in the season, why he was having so much success. And he credited a lot of it to having just a different grip on the curveball, getting a little bit more out of it. So that was definitely a big part of Paul's 22. So let's spin it forward. Get it? Curveball. Spin it forward. Let's talk about the 2023 season. He's finally established, right? After all those years, up, down, 2 starts, back to AAA, not getting a sustained opportunity. He's established. He's an all-star. And you'd have to think opening day rotation is there as long as the A's need him. Like, he's established as a big leaguer now. And I certainly hope that he can build on the positives of last year. Of course, there were some negatives, but some of that I'm looking back and feeling like came with the injuries. So stick to the positives, try and replicate as much of that as possible. And I hope for health. I hope he can stay away from, injuries. I'd love him to be like Cole Irvin, make 30 starts in 2023. That would be spectacular. And keep the curveball working. I'll tell you this, look at the velocities, the average velocities for him last season. The heater at 92, the cutter at 87, the curveball at 79, the changeup at 86, and the slider at 79. Look at the curveball coming in even slower than the changeup by about, 7 miles an hour. And look at the velo difference between the fastball and the curveball, 92 to 79. I really like that, almost 15, 20 mile an hour difference. Actually, 13, I guess, 13. But I like that separation to keep hitters off balance. I think that is a huge deal for Paul Blackburn to not only feel confident in that curveball, but to use it a bunch. By the way, those are also in order of percentage of pitches used. So the fastball is his number 1 pitch, cutter, and then the changeup. Keep that changeup rolling. I hope it bodes well for Paul Blackburn. But obviously, it's an A's rotation that needs experience. It needs reliability. It needs depth. It's probably going to need some pitchers to stick through stretches where they don't get a ton of run support again. The A's did not hit a lot of homers, did not score a lot of runs last year for their pitchers. But that's a look at Paul Blackburn. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Thumbs up on the video if you did. And since you're here, subscribe to the channel. I've got lots more A's and Sharks stuff coming out right around the corner. I'll see you then.